Cardinal fans, welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Cardinal Playbook, and it's always my pleasure to be with my good friend and head football coach here at Williamsville College, Jerod Kruse. And Jerod, looking at the conference and talking about last week's ball game, you really never know what you're going to get in this conference, and I guess that's the best way to start this interview.
Yeah, you don't. You you try and compare scores as prognosticators do, and hey, you should be able to do this against this team because you beat S&T at their place and S&T beat them at their place, and at the end of the day, it's who shows up the day of the game and how many bullets are left in their gun at this time during the year.
Boy, it is,
and just how you fire those during the course of the game, and we ran out of a few bullets on Saturday, and we did some good things at times in some different areas. But didn't have enough to hold them off, as we all know. They were picked, first or second or third in the conference for a reason. They're a good football team. I think they finished, 8-3 last year.
Very physical.
On the same track to do that again this year.
Right.
And, they got a lot of things going for them. And
their physicality.
They are.
Let's talk about that a little bit. They were very physical. They're playing. Although their quarterback, who all the quarterbacks
he didn't start
played,
for them this year either.
I know
they brought him in.
But he did a great job. The probably sad thing I hate to bring up on the show because I always like to talk about positive is that most of those quarterbacks we played this year will be back next year, and they played. But their physicality, they just. You look at them skill-wise. I mean, they were a solid football team. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, by the record and the way they played against us, but they were just physical.
They were, and they going into it, they're going to run the ball on offense, and they've got, a couple backs that make them look pretty good, and the one back is, big and strong and heavy and runs with good lean, so that's a physical game. You got to try and tackle that guy. 25, 30 times a game,
right.
and then, get down some big receivers as well. And, the quarterback that they played on Saturday was their punt returner for the first half of the year. And now he's playing quarterback for them. And so the different dynamics that entails from an athletic guy like that can also throw the ball well. And, defensively, they've got two of the best linebackers in the conference. And they make a lot of plays, and they've got some good guys up front. And they make it hard on you, and they did on Saturday.
You were talking about let's talk about depth a little bit, and talking about you did this year. You've got sophomore kids and some junior kids, and quite a few freshmen, some redshirt, some true freshmen playing, but it really isn't still like having a senior and junior laden team. Even in high school, in a big high school, which I'm really familiar with, there's a huge difference when you have to play a number of people in the sophomore class in comparison to really a group of seniors supplemented by a few juniors. That's when we were always really good. That's when they're still really good. It's not any different.
No, you're exactly right. In the best college teams I've been involved with, we've had over half our starters were seniors, at least. In the very best teams, 3/4 of our starters were seniors, and with some juniors mixed in and a few sophomores here and there. And I think we start, as a team, we may start 7, 8 senior starters, and so not even we're barely getting to a quarter of our guys right now that are seniors, but
we still have come a long way.
We have, and we've got some good ones coming as well. As the nice thing about where we're at right now is a lot of those guys, those young ones that are playing, have been playing for a year or two now, and so excited to get to a point when those guys, are in those upper classes and have that experience going for them too, physically and mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. But the good thing is, let's talk a little bit about recruiting too. We're going to talk about that in our last show and really get into it a lot. But you beat Truman State, S&T, Southwest Baptist, and Lincoln, all 4 Missouri schools.
Yep.
That's got to help you recruiting-wise, because let's take, and we were talking before we got on the show, let's take S&T, and Truman. You recruit the same type of athlete because they're very academic, high institutions. Right. It's got to help you, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know what? We talked about that with them. Right before the S&T game, I stood up in front of them in a team meeting and said, "Hey, who in this room stand up if you've ever been undefeated in anything?" And a handful of them stood up, and I said, "Okay, sit down." I said, "Well, you've got a chance you've got a chance this week to go undefeated in the state of Missouri, which William Jewell hasn't done in a long time, no matter what league they've been in, and so we accomplished that goal. Nobody can take that away from us, being undefeated in the state of Missouri against four former MIAA schools. It's a big accomplishment for where we're at in the program right now, and we've got bigger aspirations than that. But we've had some good wins and some good things have happened along the way. But our big focus right now is how do we go out and put things together with the guys that are left healthy and left standing here at the end, and put a good showing together and on the road.
I didn't know how much you wanted to talk about that on the show, because I always try to, but it's obvious at the end of the year. This is where, they're talking about the depth factor and having the older. There's a difference between 18 and 21 and 22.
Absolutely.
And we're talking about just physically,
maturity, emotionally. I mean, so many things change, in life, in all of those areas during that period of time, and so it's funny. I was sitting in front of a meeting with them last night, looking up at the room, and 100 and some guys going, "Holy cow! I remember him 4 years ago on his." On his recruiting visit. I remember sitting in his house 4 years ago, and he was this little skinny little kid. And
I remember the Riser boys. Look how much they've matured in what
in so many different ways.
And
all
great,
of them.
And great kids. I mean, just very back to you recruiting the top-notch student athlete. These kids, they're not going to the NFL.
Yeah.
All right, and what you guys sell is really what's important in life. You sell the ability to go on in their lives and make something happen. And I just use the two Riser kids because I just been visiting with them and talking with them. But great examples.
Absolutely. We're blessed in the fact that we get to be around good kids all day. And as we talked to them about in recruiting, hey, we need good players and we need good students. But at the end of the day, you can be both of those. But if you're not the right kind of person, it's not a good fit for us, and it's probably not going to be a good fit for you. And we've been fortunate to be around the right kind of people, and at the end of the day, that means a lot.
You bet. Real quickly, you always have to talk about the quarterback if you have any talk show or any coach's show. No matter, I listen to this talk show on the way up here after I had my own show. So, but
everybody's infatuated with that position.
For some reason, he always got to have his hand on the ball. But
defensive guys always feel a little left out.
Yeah, they definitely
about the
do.
linebacker,
Definitely do.
Yeah.
But Nick West has had, it was just like yesterday. You didn't get to see the Chiefs game, but Alex Smith was on his back. There's not a whole lot you can do in the game of football if you're on your back. Now, I'm not knocking the offensive line, but what West has learned, and I've really been impressed with him, even in sometimes when we really have had tough times, he'll get back up and make plays. And then DJ, I got a chance to visit with him a little bit after the game because he's been around for 4 years, and he helps me and Rick, and he's a great kid, great parents. And both of them, I think, still provide a tremendous amount of leadership for this team in a very positive way.
Absolutely. It's fortunate to have. We're fortunate to have kids like that can feed off each other in some ways, and that room. There's in the dynamics that we've had this year. It'd be easy to have a lot of dissension and guys talking bad behind each other's backs, and we haven't had any of that, which is tremendous. And the fortunate thing is we're going to get to see one of them for a couple more of our quarterbacks for a few more years, but the hard thing is that one of them's going to graduate here real soon, and he's got an extremely bright future. DJ does, and in the world of sports and advertising and marketing, and he's done everything we've asked him to do for 4.5 years here, and can't thank him enough for all the things he's done for the program.
It's funny you said that. I saw his mom and taught, like I said, visit with her, and I told him if I was still in a position of hiring people, he'd be one of the first guys I hired. But that's the kind of kid you got.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next segment, we'll talk a little bit about weight training and get into that a little bit, and that ends this segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook. Cardinal fans, welcome back to the second segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook. It's my pleasure to be here with Adam Lang, the strength and conditioning coach here at William Jewell. And, of course, this is a football show, but we're going to talk a little bit about everything. I just got him from baseball practice workouts actually to do the show. But Adam, talk a little bit about what your schedule is. You are not just the football strength and conditioning coach. You're the conditioning and strength coach for everybody. So why don't you talk about what you do?
Just on a day-to-day basis, I'll work with all of our teams here, either in lifting and conditioning or just lifting. Yes, mainly my job is to work with the athletes and improve their strength, improve their power,
Right.
And help to improve any imbalances that they may have.
Why don't you talk about that a little bit, Adam? Imbalances for the average fan that's watching the show. When you say imbalances, probably a mom or grandma or grandpa or dad really don't understand what you're talking about. Why don't you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, a lot of the times imbalances that I see are as far as from athletes. Normally, like our football players, they'll be really good at, say, pressing movements, but not real great at a pulling movement.
Right.
And so we need to have balance as far as like from front to back, our strength levels that way. And then also obviously lower body to upper body, we need to have balance. And from left to right as well. So for example, if I'm working with pitchers, then I know that their movement is so one-dimensional that a lot of times I like to do things to the opposite direction to try to create some balance as far as mobility that they might lack on one side and create a little bit more mobility on the other side.
See, the average person doesn't understand that.
Yeah, I would say they probably don't, yeah.
And now how do you go about that? That's just fascinating to me. Do you test before to see the strength levels, like you said, so you can break it down? Do you have a program you use? How do you do that?
Well, I'd say the number one thing is knowing the athletes and knowing the sport that you're working with, and breaking down what I would say like are the fundamental movements that sport has.
Right.
So for a pitcher, that's very easy. They do one thing all the time, whereas maybe a basketball player would be much different. They need to have very good conditioning. They need to be able to cut, decelerate quickly, just like a soccer player or a football player would need to as well. But so on some level, everybody needs the same thing as far as just being able to create and absorb forces, and then as far as injury prevention, being balanced in their upper and lower body from left to right. But then in certain sports, there's nuances towards overuse injuries just from repetitive movements.
Yeah, that's a big thing now because these kids, for example, let's just take soccer or volleyball. They play only one sport. And back in my day, the three-sport letterman was kind of an honored thing to be. Now it's unheard of because everybody specializes. That really creates problems for athletes, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And that's a pretty good point that you bring up. We see that. I've been doing this now for 9 years at the collegiate level, and one thing that I've definitely seen a trend towards is athletes coming in that are really, really good at playing their sport, but maybe not very good at movements that aren't required in their sport.
Right.
So for example, some sports that don't require much lateral movement, if we're doing, say, a lateral lunge, an athlete won't really understand the movements that they need to do as far as their lower body or maintaining upper body posture. And so they'll have different what's called like leaks of energy in there, and it just makes the movement not very efficient. So if I can kind of correct some of the things and get them better at doing things that they've never done, then it'll dramatically improve the things that they're always doing in their sport.
I know we're short time. We talk about prevention. That's the great thing about conditioning and weight and stretching. Let's talk about that. Don't you think that's an area that particularly, and of course I have a high school background, particularly we are just now really doing a good job of is getting kids to stretch and do the proper stretching?
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say it's probably most important before you lift or you train or you compete, just so your muscles are they're properly warmed up, and your tendons and your ligaments and whatnot, and then you can do various kinds of stretching afterwards too. Since everything is so pliable and it's just been taken through really good ranges of motion, the muscles themselves become really supple to changes in length like that, and you can see definite changes in flexibility if it's something that's done consistently.
Well, to me, of course, I have a high interest in this. I wished I could do a whole show, and it would really be interesting. But I know how much time you put in. Just on behalf of really all the alumni and the parents at William Jewell, I want to thank you, because I know that what you do helps the athlete a great deal. So
I appreciate it.
Keep up the hard work. I know you'll be busy. I don't have to say stay out of trouble, because you don't have any time to get in trouble. But it's great having you on the show, Adam.
I appreciate it.
I've had a chance to talk to you a little bit, but it's the first time we've ever sit down and visit, and really enjoyed it. That does this segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook. We'll come back with Coach Kruse and talk a little bit about Indianapolis and the final football game of the season. Welcome back, Cardinals, to our final edition of Inside the Cardinal Playbook today, and we're going to talk a little bit about the game coming up. We've got to go to Indianapolis, play Indy up there, and talked about them a little bit, because they're going to be a tough game ending or season ending opponent.
Yeah, they're you look at them on film and you try and where do you attack them? Where's their weakness? Where some guys a little bit better than others, or not quite as good, and everybody has those. You look at them and it reminds me of the days when scheming teams in the MIAA like Northwest Missouri and Pittsburgh State, when you just looked at them and you went, holy cow, they're just good everywhere.
Right.
And they haven't, going into their third year now, we're almost all the way through the third season of the GLVC football era, and they have yet to lose a game in GLVC play. Now, they've been in overtime a couple times. Truman had them down in the fourth quarter earlier this year. They've had some close games, but teams that have been doing it good for a long time find a way to win, and they continue to do that. So we'll have our work cut out for us in every way this weekend. But we'll get over there and get in the hotel and be ready to go Saturday afternoon and have all the bullets we have left in our gun and get ready to start firing. So we're looking forward to the challenge.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's simply what you do.
Absolutely.
On the road, was about 7.5 hours?
Yeah, right around there. So we'll leave Friday morning and practice on the way and have some lunch in St. Louis and keep going and get there later in the evening, I think, on Friday night, and get up and get ready to play.
Well, Coach, good luck to you.
Thank you.
It's the last game of the year. I know it's an emotional time for you and your staff, as well as the kids, the seniors. It's the last time you've had those seniors. Give you 30 seconds. I know to talk about your senior class.
This is always a interesting, fun, emotional week, because, as we talked about yesterday in our team meeting, this is the last. Everything we do, all week long, it's the last time for 14 guys that are in that room and on that field together, and as you know, the dynamic of the group next year will be different. It changes every year because there's different human beings involved, so the dynamic of the group changes. So it's going to be the last time that we have this team together, and all of us in the room together, all of us on the road together, all of us competing together as this group. And when you've been involved and been invested in young men for a 4 to 4+ years, that's a lot of emotion and energy. And
people have no clue unless they've done it.
Yeah, how close and how much you truly care about, seeing them grow. And the proudest thing for me was standing out there on Saturday and listening to, so-and-so is going to graduate with this, going to graduate with this and do this. And every single one of those standing out there will graduate. And that, that's a huge deal, and something we take a lot of pride in, that we're doing it the right way there.
Well, you sure are. Good luck to your last game of the year, Andy. Be careful getting up there and coming back. We've all got to make the trip, and we'll make her.
Right.
We'll get her done. Cardinal fans, that ends this week of Inside the Cardinal Playbook. And remember, we're at Indy, and hopefully all of you will, if you can't make the trip, at least watch the game on Saturday. Again, thank you. That'll do this session of Inside the Cardinal Playbook.